I didn't even think that I could get into a puppet show, let alone like be hooked onto a puppet show. Um, it's kind of surprising. But then again, Netflix canceled the puppet show. So I'm also confused on what happened there, which is the show I'm talking about is the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. It was a one season puppet show that came out on Netflix around 2019 because I just got finished watching it. And what I saw was a show that I got hooked onto pretty easily. And that's kind of surprising when I'm like, well, I don't really like puppets, you know? Like, you see the Hermit or Kermit and the Piggy on the Video Game Awards. You know, like, the Video Game Awards for Hermit and the Piggy coming out is just like, whatever to me. I'm just like, I don't care. But then when they have them show up in a whole feature length movie, you know, not the Kermit and the Piggy, but a bunch of puppets for an actual show. I'm way more interested in that on, well, why did they do it? What are they trying to do with it? Other than, oh, look, there's a guy with his hand up a puppet's, you know, butt and just making it talk um, at another guy, you know, live. That's really, really cringe to me. And I thought the movie was going to be cringe. Well, TV show was going to be cringe. Movie I get to in a second, um, because I started to watch it, and I was like, "Man, this thing's kind of neat." We got a disgusting looking thing called Ogtha. Think it's Ogtha. It's like a weird, looks like a gremlin looking thing, honestly, and it is nasty looking, like a frog mixed with a gremlin pug. You know, imagine that if you can. And she is apparently the, um, I guess, the embodiment of this world called Thra. Um, Now, what I've noticed instantly on that was is okay, we're going straight mystical, awesome, you know, um, different, different everything pretty much. Um, because here I have an ugly puppet telling me that she's Ogtha and she is the embodiment of Thra and all these things called Gelflings, and I don't know all the names to them off the top of my head, but I know that they're like Gelflings, and they're different types of Gelflings. That's what it is. They're different types of Gelflings, and they are living in different areas. You know, like imagine Avatar: The Last Airbender. Each area, no, imagine Game of Thrones. Actually, each area is raised a different way, and what happens is you find out that these things called the Skeksis is ruling Thra now, not Ogtha, the creature of Thra. Apparently, she gave up her guardianship over the thing called the Dark Crystal. Bing, 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 bong. You know the title of the show, the Dark Crystal, and these Skeksis are disgusting looking lizard creatures. You know, um, they're like birds, but kind of like um, what's the best way to explain that? It's like birds, but like zombified, where they're just really nasty look. It's hard to explain. It really is. Um, they're just nasty ass birds. The best way to say it, honestly. I mean, you have to go look at it to go see. They're just nasty birds, um, and they took over Thra in place of Ogtha. And apparently, how the story goes is that here's the whole thing real fast before we go into a little bit more. They convinced Ogtha to give up the guardianship of the crystal, let them take it over and watch over it. And they promised her, you can go do crazy stuff in the sky, in space. Because a big spoiler is, she was in space. Now, why was she in space? Well, because the Skeksis aren't original living people on that planet of Thra. They be alien. Of course, they be alien. They crash landed down on Thra, and they more or less uh, convinced a dumb, I guess, creature say, hey, give us your stuff and we'll let you go to space and go see how cool it is out there. I don't understand how she went to space still. And I really don't get that part. But for them to take over the crystal like they did and use it and harness its powers to make them keep, I guess, living, it doesn't really describe it well enough for me. Because what I understood from the whole series is the Skeksis pretty much lied to Ogtha about taking care of Thra. They were abusing Thra and its power of the crystal over Thra. And they were amplifying a thing called the Darkening. Now, the Darkening is, of course, just what I just said. It's just them overusing the crystal. They overuse the crystal for foul deeds, and it punishes them by darkening up some, I don't know, some area somewhere, making it evil, you know. So you had these puppets, and what happens is that it's a very good show. But before I continue, I have to say, this show cost $98 million to make, which brings me to my big giant pet peeve of they canceled it after the first season. The first season ended on a gigantic cliffhanger of they made some stuff. Now, with that being said, what did they make? I believe he's called a Grunax. I believe he's called, and it was like, apparently they were decimated and taken out of of Thra, but they found two of them left, and the Skeksis just turned them into mouthless slaves because of course they would. They evil. So what happens is that the one Skeksis is a scientist, and he, you know what? Let's just go ahead and side roll back into it real fast. Let's do a quick dive real fast, which is, here's an explanation that I understand moving quickly enough, which is Ogtha is the one and all that controls Thra. The Gelflings are very, very in touch with Thra. There are other species other than Gelfling, but I don't know them, so we're moving on. Which is, then you have Podlings. I know that one because they're a weird, inebriated species that just, I guess, they don't really do much, honestly, what I've noticed. They kind of just sit around and drink all day, and you only have this one podling that follows them around and wants to become a paladin. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But what happens is you have Rian, which is another Gilfling, of course. The whole story is honestly about Rian and his journey. There isn't really much more to it. What I've seen. From what I've seen. Rian travels around trying to redeem his name, trying to also prove that the Skeksis are evil. How are the Skeksis evil? Because the Skeksis are not just using the Dark Crystal to abuse its power, they're also absorbing Gelfling into the Dark Crystal to apparently use its power. But that's good and bad because it makes sense, but also bad because it doesn't make as much sense because if they're already using the crystal to get the power to make them whatever they're making themselves be, why do they need Gelfling for more? Like, they're already doing it, you know? But honestly, the main reason why I'm not knocking it all out in depth is because Netflix canceled it after season one. And in my opinion, on season one, if they would have continued it for one more season, I think it could have done really well, because I think it's one of them shows that needs to be on like like a reoccurring amount of times. It needs to show up, not like how do I explain it? I think it should have came out again for a second season, and if they would have released it in today's atmosphere, it would have done well, because people are looking for anything to detach from all this, you know. And the big thing with that is, I think it could have done amazing if they would have just given it another season. But $98 million is a lot. I mean, wow, that took a lot of money to make a puppet show. Um, I would have given I would have given it a better explanation, but honestly, I can't, because they canceled it. You know, what I can say is that it was very good at doing what it sought out to do, which is watch Rianne unite everybody in Thra against the Skeksis. Very generic plot, but it was a fun watch. You could see it coming a mile away, but it's a fun watch. And how they end it was, the one scientist, Skeksis, designs a new machine type, enemy to go to war against everybody in Thra. You see how I just yawned there? That's just because of how much I'm just like, what's the point in continuing it when they canceled the damn thing? Well, it, it did get me excited to learn that there was a movie about the daggone show. I'm going to look at the movie and watch that, of course, to see what's going on. I don't know how they link up, but I would like to see if they were just as good as the the Netflix version versus the movie version. Because are they the same telling, or are they a sequel, prequel? And also, honestly, it really sucks that they had to cancel it. They just can't stop canceling shows that are good, but continuing to run shows that are bad. I don't understand that one. Uh, that just sucks in general. But whatever. I ranted enough about a aggravating show that I kind of had fun watching, but then got depressed about learning that it was canceled. So, I'm gonna end the video, I guess. Oh well.